Good afternoon, everybody. It is time for a Maxime Bernier Twitter Roundup. I have been remiss in my Maxime Bernier Twitter Roundup duties. I have a lot of other things I've been getting to. It has been so busy, but it's always busy and it's always fun. So let's dive right into this. I've got some data I want to show you too, and I have a challenge for you, everyone. I'm going to show you my methodology. This is really easy, and I'm interested in what you guys can put together for me if you're interested in this too, because as soon as I realized this, I was like, wow, I wonder what British Columbia looks like using this data that's freely available. We'll get there. First, Maxime Bernier's tweeting, quote, Patrick Moore at Echo Sense Now and I will be in Kelowna next week. Come meet us if you're fed up with climate alarmism and want to hear a more rational perspective. And it's got a link to a People's Party thing. And this actually was tweeted 2 days ago. So I don't think I've actually gone back to the last one I did. So I've skipped some. But anyway, here is Maxime Bernier tweeting again. NDP, Greens, Liberals, and Tories all support Paris Accord and are willing to make us poorer to reach its targets. Your only option is at the People's Party if you don't believe in climate alarmism and in the UN's global socialism. And there's a link to a Globe and Mail article. I'm not gonna get into this stuff because they're all pushing this climate action, this climate emergency, this climate stuff. Well, we're gonna see lots more of this. I think I'm gonna title this Maxime Bernier Twitter Roundup Climate Emergency Edition or something like that. Anyway, Bernier continues and tweets, quote, Are you tired of the constant fear-mongering about the end of the world to justify more taxes and government control over your life? I bet all the other parties will support this liberal motion to, quote, declare a national climate emergency. Not me. And thank goodness for that. So if you've not been hearing about this, it's been all over everywhere. And even in my hometown, the city council is having a climate emergency meeting. And I'm going to speak at this climate emergency meeting. And I'm going to show you a little preview of what I'm going to say. Just a little one. In the next slide. I'm going to get there really soon. So here's Maxime Bernier talking about a Bill Nye clip. And he says, quote, The end is nigh. The end is effing nigh. Only a socialist Green New Deal can save us. You idiots, surrender all your belongings and freedoms to the state or you will fry. And this is the Vancouver Sun commenting, I suppose, on Bill Nye's, you idiots, the planet is on effing fire. Bill Nye message to leaders stalling on climate change, right? So, and I had this sent to me and I haven't watched it because as soon as I saw Bill Nye tell everybody that gender is a spectrum in that awful Netflix thing that he did, nope, sorry, I got no time for Bill Nye. Sorry, man. But here's the data I was talking about. I'm going to show you my methodology and what this is. This is the average of all the days in April from 1989 to 2019 taken from different places in Canada. And this is, the red line is Pearson International Airport. And the blue line is, I forgot where the blue line is. Hold on, I'll show you my data here, my initial data set here. And okay, so the first data set, because I wonder if small airports go back a long way. So I found that the Waterloo University had its own maintained daily high and low temperatures. So I copied in the highs and lows from different years. So here's the 1998, this is the low, this is the high, and I took the average high, right? So I averaged it out. There's the formula, average high, average high. Okay, so that's the blue line. Scroll down. Pearson data is a little different. I got it from StatsCan website right here. And so I chose the year, I chose the month, I downloaded the data in CSV. And when you open the CSV file, which I'll show you, it doesn't matter which one. That one's fine. So this was 1989, right? So I went to April 1st, 1989, and I copied all the data. That's all the data. And this is, F is the high temperature daily max, daily high, okay? And then when I had all of that data, I put it into a graphing sheet and I told it to graph. So this is 1989, averaged from Pearson International Airport. And if you look at it, it's interesting. In 1990, we had an average temperature in April of 13.72 degrees. And in 1991, 13.4. And in 1992, 9.92. And in 1995, 8.76. When I started picking up the University of Waterloo Airport data, it's different, but it's close. It follows the same pattern. So Pearson's 14, Waterloo's at 13. Pearson in 2000's at 11, Waterloo's at 10.55. Right? You see this? The low in 2007 is 10.51. The low in 2007 in Waterloo is 8.93. The high is 16.22 at Pearson and 15.71 in Waterloo, and that's in 2010. If you look forward, and the data runs out at Waterloo in 2014, so we'll look at that. That's 10.63, and in Pearson in 2014, it's 11.08, and then in 2015, 13.09, and then down to 9.86, and then up to 14.49, and then down to 7.97 in 2018, and then in 2019, 10.68. So this is, and you can see the timeline across the bottom, and you can see the y-axis is the temperature in Celsius on the left-hand side there. So it's interesting to me, the climate emergency is being declared. Where's the warming? Where do you see a warming trend in that line? I don't. And I'm not a scientist. But in the absence of evidence of warming, since they've been saying, and here it is, here's the 1989 article. Okay, this is from the Associated Press. United Nations, a senior UN environmental official says entire nations could be wiped off the face of the earth by rising sea levels if global warming trend is not reversed by the year 2000. Coastal flooding and crop failures would create an exodus of eco-refugees, threatening political chaos, said Noel Brown, director of the New York office of the UN Environmental Program, or UNEP. He said governments have a 10-year window of opportunity to solve the greenhouse effect before it goes beyond human control. A 10-year window. After it goes beyond human control, and that would be 1999, what do you think happens? Do you think it's a line that looks like that? I'm working on putting the Pearson data back to 1975 because I think that this line probably continues exactly the same way. And I'm going to be adding a couple of other lines too. I just have no time. I have no time. It takes time to download each set of data and move it over. So I challenge you, find us a warming trend. Find us a thing that looks anything like a warming trend. Is there any kind of warming trend at all? I don't see one. Certainly not one in the last 40 years. Since 1989, 99, 2009, 2019. Yeah, it's 40 years, right? I don't see a warming thing. I don't understand the climate emergency. What is the temperature staying roughly the same done to the place where I live and or a lot of other people live? Pearson International Airport has stayed roughly the same. Nothing's changed. Where's the emergency? I'm failing to understand. You heard of the Emperor's New Clothes? I'm the kid. Isn't he naked? Where's the warming? Okay, back to Maxime Bernier. In a stunning vote by its members, the Law Society of Ontario's compulsory equity, diversity, inclusion statement was rejected. A great victory for free speech and common sense. Thank goodness. Yes. Here's another one from Mr. Bernier. NDP furious over House of Commons Committee invitation for Jordan Peterson. Quote, there are limits to what you can say in this country, says NDP MP Randy Balsano. Indeed, there are more and more limits, and that's the problem. 12 Rules for Life, NDP furious over House of Commons Committee invitation. And the reason that Dr. Peterson, is not couldn't make he was originally scheduled to be there on Wednesday and he couldn't because of a family emergency that had to do with his wife. So I saw he canceled one of his talks in London and he spoke on his channel. So if you're interested in that, go over to check out Dr. Peterson's channel. He's got an announcement, and I actually haven't updated myself, so I don't know what's happened since like Wednesday or whatever earlier in the week when I noticed that. So I hope everything's okay with him and with his wife and everything's all right, because family emergencies, well, they inevitably come, and you hope that you're prepared for them as best you can be. Okay, back to Mr. Bernier's Twitter roundup. The left censorship strategy is becoming more obvious all the time. Every week brings a new attack on our freedom of speech and freedom of the press. Where will it end? And this is in response to Justin Trudeau government to release an approved list of newspapers and websites, and I reported on that this morning. That sounds like a great idea, doesn't it? I'm shaking my head. Absolutely not. It doesn't. It sounds like a draconian, authoritarian government idea, and if you start talking like I talk, that doesn't make sense. Hold on, the data doesn't look like there's any warming there, right? Huh, guys? So people like that don't usually do well in draconian, authoritarian, fascist dictatorships, which more and more it looks like Justin Trudeau is slipping into if he can weave the next couple of months and get reelected. I mean, even I've heard rumors that a gun ban is coming, and Tony Clement stood on the House floor and said, is this government going to bring a gun ban in without debate in the House of Commons and without having to go through royal assent and all that other stuff. And it looks like they're going to try, and that's concerning. That's really concerning. That won't do anything to curb the rampant criminal guns coming up through the leaky southern border. It's just incredible. And everybody, all the experts have told Trudeau that too. It doesn't attack the problem. Just like carbon taxes don't attack emissions. It doesn't reduce them at all. So all you're doing is paying to have your money redistributed and everything else to cost more. It makes no sense. Okay, back to Mr. Bernier, who said this today, quote, Canada has an obligation not just to reduce our own emissions, but also to help other countries cut theirs. Was it Justin Trudeau? Nope. Was it Elizabeth May? Nuh-uh. Was it Jagmeet Singh? Jug like Hugmeet Singh? Nope. It was Andrew Scheer. Andrew Scheer. More money wasted here and abroad. Yes, a vote for Andrew Scheer is a vote for spending our money to help other countries curb climate change. Except that, where's the warming? Where's the warming in Canada that's supposed to be warming at twice the speed of everywhere else? 3 times the speed if you ask Miss McKenna, depending on the day you ask Miss McKenna. Here's another one from Mr. Bernier, sorry. He says, quote, globalist Trudeau committed $2.65 billion of our money in 2015 to fight climate change in developing countries. Globalist Scheer says today we have an obligation to help other countries reduce their emissions. How much will he send to third world dictators? Okay, and people have been asking me, and this has been a line, there's a website out there that says Max has ties to globalists, we can't support Max either, and it's trying to be divisive, it's trying to create a wedge, in my opinion, because I've looked into this a couple of times. People keep sending me the website and saying, what do you think about this? And I think there's not enough there. I think Ottawa is a small place, and when you're putting together a big party, when you're putting together something that stretches across the country, it's really hard to do. And having people who have experience doing that, that's a small pool of people. So yeah, I think people are going to have experience in agencies and in all sorts of things that have ties to people who look like they have ties to globalism. The reason that I don't think Mr. Bernier is caught up in that is he's the only one who actually names this stuff. He's the one saying globalist here. It's not me. If I've been doing this show a long time, and I try to stay as center as I can, as reasonable as I can, and I think center is pretty reasonable. Economic stability, you've got to help your poorest, but for the most part, help Canadians first. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And that's my bias for putting my show out. But prior to Mr. Bernier legitimizing the term globalist, right now it's a very, and with the United Kingdom and what's going on there, and the globalist word being bandied about quite a lot everywhere online, I think that it's a term that is, if it's like the mob, right? The mob doesn't say the mob exists, right? You don't say mob if you're in the mob. And so that's it. That's my very poor analogy. I think maybe it's the most succinct analogy though. Like he's the one naming it. He's the one calling it out. And not to say I would stay away from the term other than that Bernier has talked about it. Bernier was one of the first to talk about it openly. And now other people are talking about it. It's a legitimate term. And that's largely because he's not been afraid to talk about it. And that's one of the reasons that I think that he's not part of that game. And I really hope not. I've met him. I've shook his hand. If I could choose, and I can, and I get to choose one vote, my vote goes to Mr. Bernier. He's the best that we've got. And thank goodness that he's willing to stand up and fight, honestly, really, and it's appreciated. So that's what I think about this globalist ties and all that stuff. Prove me wrong. Honestly, I'm willing to change my mind. I'm willing to have my mind changed. I'm willing to read whatever comes across my desk. But it can't be drivel. And it can't say, oh, they were once in a room together and they talked about things and blah, blah, blah. Because that's all we got so far. There's not much. Not much at all. Circumstance at best. Okay, back to the very much longer than I anticipated Bernier Roundup. It's Climate Hysteria Week in Ottawa. Which party is the most alarmist? Which one will take the most drastic and costly measures? Only the PPC believes there is a national emergency to defend Canadians' interests and prosperity. I believe that's true. It's Climate Hysteria Week in Ottawa, and this is Catherine McKenna. Sorry, everyone. Yelling and being upset in the House of Commons, she says, so the Conservatives mocked me for being mad today. Oh yes, I am mad. Mad on behalf of our kids and grandkids in the future. They deserve. Conservative politicians need to stop fighting climate action and join us in fighting climate change. Yes! How much money did we need to spend to keep that graph right there? Right in that square, right there, that 5. I don't see a march. I don't see a steady march. One degree? The coldest year was 2018 in this graph, from 1989 to 2018. Come on, like really, go check for yourself. It's wild, it's crazy. Here's Jagmeet Singh. Yep, this one's Jagmeet Singh saying, well, here, hold on, we'll watch some of this one. He's talking about climate change and hysteria.
Bring forward a motion to declare a climate emergency. This is in line with what we're seeing around the world, where different jurisdictions, municipalities are calling for a climate emergency to acknowledge the severity of the situation, but also to remind us the hope that we can make better decisions which will result in better results. And so what we're proposing is to look at this as a...
It's going to result in better results, for sure. Better results. Yep. Better results than what exactly? What are we comparing this to? What do we want instead of this? Right? Like really? Climate Hysteria Week, and not just in Ottawa, and this is when, and this is after, I suppose, just to remind us it's hysteria time. Timeless truth from H.L. McKenna. The whole aim of practical politics is to keep the populace alarmed, and hence clamorous to be led to safety by menacing it with an endless series of hobgoblins, most of them imaginary. Yes. Quote, foreign ownership controls and government meddling, federal and provincial, prevent open airline competition and may be forcing Canadians to pay more for air travel. A People's Party government will stop this meddling and bring more competition. And the last one, it says, I'm all in favor of forcefully combating real hate speech, appeals to violence and terrorist organizations on social media, but does anyone believe that this is what Trudeau is really after, given his repeated attacks against free speech and a free press? Right. I agree entirely. It's very concerning. The model the CBC has adopted, the model the rest of the news organizations in Canada have adopted, the reliance on liberal money, the reliance on pushing the talking point. It's incredible. I'm so disappointed in our press, in everything that's happened since Justin Trudeau has taken control of this country. It is incredibly disappointing because he has done far more damage than Stephen Harper. I mean, at the time in 2015, it was pushed that Stephen Harper would damage Canada. And my goodness, what the damage being wrought by Justin Trudeau is incredible. In the guise of, cloaked in the false guise of being a savior to people who need help. He's making things more expensive for the poorest of us. He is taking away money from the middle class who he promises to help. And he is meaningfully making Canada less safe every single day. It is from reclassifying, changing misdemeanors, I don't know if it's serviceable offenses. Anyway, big offenses that usually would take a court case to deal with and potentially jail time, to a summary offense where you can pay your way out of it, right? They did that. They did that on purpose. That meaningfully makes Canada worse off. The money laundering, all of this stuff is exploding, and it's exploding either through ineptitude, meaning they don't know what they're doing, or because they do know exactly what they're doing. Either way, it's exploding and it's not being dealt with. And we're being told everything's fine, and it's clearly not. Okay, this video is longer than I anticipated, so have a wonderful, wonderful day. And really, it's a wonderful day. It's a wonderful day. Find me a warming trend. Find me something in BC. Did the carbon tax hit in 2008 and drop things drastically? I'd be interested to see that too. I'm not trying to predict what's out there. Check out my sources. All of my data will be on the video that I release that goes through all of my methodology, etc. But it's very simple. All of the links that I use to do this are here and freely available. And you can search. You can search if you want to. You click on historical data here, and you can type in like a city in British Columbia, and it'll bring up airports nearby, et cetera, et cetera. I'm interested. What do those charts look like? It's very easy to chart the data. I know. Okay, we'll do an instruction thing. Just hit this explore thing and then scroll down until you find the chart, and it'll make the chart. Share the sheet with me. I'm interested. I really am. Thanks for watching, everybody. I know this was a long one. I'm a little crazy on here, but it matters, right? What else do you want? Climate change? Where? Do you not want? Is this not what you're expecting to see? Is this not what you want? I think that's probably pretty good for April, right? Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a great day.